Never heard so many F-bombs thrown around in Congress yesterday as senators lashed out at Dr. Fauci in a very rare public beatdown. Will it end in Dr. Fauci where he belongs, in Guantanamo Bay? I don't know. But if Senator Bernie Moreno from Ohio had anything to do with it, then probably he asked, who the F do you think you are?
Run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the do you think you were for doing that?
Dr. Fauci a little startled there, and Dr. Fauci dropping his own F-bombs now this morning. He hasn't spoken. He was caught, however, with the paparazzi in Capitol Hill, it looks like. Yeah, in their Capitol Hill neighborhood in Washington, D.C., doing a little trot with his wife, both of them dumpy and unhealthy looking. Sincerely, like Dr. Fauci, the fat belly noodle arms, common in leftists, a sign of very low testosterone, very poor metabolic health. You can see here, this man was in charge of the world's health, and he looks like this. It's like a sign of an unhealthy lifestyle and a very weak lifestyle. Dr. Fauci was overheard blowing off steam after a brutal day on Capitol Hill, angrily venting to his wife about somebody shouting to him. The couple has been married and spotted power walking from their $2.4 million home in a fancy neighborhood of Washington, D.C. Just hours earlier, he refused to answer anything. He was fumbling with his phone and donning his complained that somebody was shouting at me and dropped an F-bomb as he got his steps in shortly after a tongue lashing from Republican senators. The Brooklyn-born doctor had been hauled in front of the testimony. He's 85 years old, served as the head of NAID to rig the election against Donald Trump. And that's what he did. And this is what libs want to tell you is what health looks like. No, ladies and gentlemen, this is what intel-laden corruption looks like to rig elections using bioweapons, and that is exactly what we talked about with Rand Paul right after the hearing. Rand Paul, ladies and gentlemen, telling us precisely what happened, and then that F-bomb moment, and what's going to happen next to Dr. Fauci. Here we go. We also found out that Dr. Fauci got a blood clot, an infarction after getting the vaccine, and then lied to the public about this and got treatment privately and secretly, and could have actually told the public about this. This did seem to be a major problem and a reported problem with some of the vaccines, specifically AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson. But Fauci, once again, kept that a secret. Another lie that we found out because of the work that you did exposing his diary. What does that say about Fauci?
You know, the vaccine complications, one of the top 5 complications are blood clots. A type of a blood clot is a pulmonary embolism, which I think he had pulmonary embolism, but then they also described it as pulmonary infarct, which is much rarer. But basically, an artery occludes and a segment of the lung sort of loses its circulation. An infarct is sort of an absence of circulation. But yeah, this was commonly being associated. Other people had it. And let's say you were just, John Smith, and you lived 2 hours away from a big city and you had this happen, you can die from this. And so by him downplaying it, hiding it, and then all I can remember is his pictures going door to door, pushing the vaccine on everybody, and then not really being honest with it. I'm a moderate on this issue. I think older people may well have been better off getting vaccinated than getting the disease. Older people died. But with younger people, I think it's the opposite. Younger people, particularly 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 that are young and healthy, I think the risks of the vaccine were greater. And I think that's an honest approach. And then I would let people voluntarily make their decisions whether they want to be vaccinated. Instead, Fauci was like a religion. All vaccines are good. Everybody should get it. You should get it all the time. You should keep getting them. He's probably still saying you should get them every 6 months. And yet you have to be honest with people and tell people what the side effects are. There was also not a huge number, but about 6 out of every 10,000 young people got a heart inflammation, and it presents with chest pain and elevated cardiac isoenzymes, which is the way a heart attack presents. It's not exactly a heart attack, but you're presenting like a heart attack when you're 15 years old. The death rate from COVID for a 15-year-old, a healthy 15-year-old, was 0. There were no healthy 15-year-olds, not like there was one, there was 0 15-year-olds that died. There's no reason to vaccinate them. And so him not telling that he had a significant complication is dishonest in his situation, because he was downplaying the vaccine's side effects and with a religious fervor saying everyone should be vaccinated, when in reality you're supposed to tell people the risks and the benefits, and then people make an informed decision whether they want medical treatment.
What are your takeaway observations from today, Senator?
I think the arrogance, the hubris, this is a man who said he was the science, and if you challenge him, you're challenging science. That is an arrogance beyond belief. But the hypocrisy of saying things in private that are the opposite of what he said in public, the idea that for 25 years he's been an advocate of this dangerous research is a true debate. So this isn't like he slipped up and accidentally made a mistake and it led to the pandemic. He philosophically has defended this dangerous research for 15, 20 years. There's a debate, a long-standing debate that has nothing to do with politics between scientists about whether we should fund this kind of dangerous research. And I think he's on the wrong side of history. I think history will judge him harshly. I think the line of questioning that showed that he used 8 employees at NIH to apply for monetary awards for him. He got $1 million award, and then the ethics commission has to look at it, and everybody's like, he wants the money. We got to figure out a way to get to yes for Tony. That it just doesn't look good. And then he takes the 5th. I think he'll be remembered more like a mafia don than a great scientist.
So you are encouraging state AGs to potentially take up this issue. What does it look like from your committee right now? Because your committee will have now a contempt vote. Do you believe that will pass out of committee and Republicans will be on board? And would that be able to go directly to the DOJ? Would this be similar to a Steve Bannon or Peter Navarro contempt vote where they both served prison time?
Yeah, I think they were held in contempt for not appearing or testifying. I think that's why Anthony Fauci showed up today, because there's pretty solid precedent that the courts sided against Bannon and against Roger Stone for not testifying. That's why his attorneys, he had high-priced attorneys. That's why he showed up today and pled the 5th. But whether or not what will happen with contempt, we will vote it out of committee. It will take every Republican voting for it, because I don't know that there'll be any Democrat. There's a possibility we might get one Democrat vote. But my plan is, at this point, probably to send it directly to the Department of Justice. You could demand a floor vote, but I don't have a great deal of confidence that it would pass or be able to escape the filibuster numbers. You'd have to get 60 votes, and that would require 7 Democrats, and I think that's unlikely.
Do you believe